Energy cost, efficiency, carbon reduction and environmental impacts are top priorities all over the world, especially for organizations operating across various locations. ABB Ability Energy Manager helps you to better monitor and analyze energy consumption across multiple locations, identify patterns and trends, and make data-driven decisions to improve energy efficiency and reduce costs. You can create multiple dashboards according to your needs and add the pre-configured widgets to enhance your consumption and monitor the variations. With the Site Locator widget, you can view a map that shows all the plants in your multi-site network. By clicking on the sites, you can see if everything works properly. Additionally, you can click on the Sites List widget to see active events and advance alarms for multiple sites. Energy Consumption widget shows the overall consumption for the selected sites and compares it with previous periods. For example, we can see that for Sacha Building Bergamo yesterday the consumption was less by around 3% than previous period. With location-based emission factor parameters, we can check the CO2 emissions for the selected sites to achieve sustainability targets. Each country has a default CO2 conversion value. The default value, however, can be changed for a specific region in the single site settings. This widget gives an important insight to define sustainability targets and an indication of the improvements you can reach over time. Comparison of single sites consumption with the average of the selected sites widget shows the difference in the energy consumption for the selected sites with respect to their average consumption. The zero line represents the average multi-site consumption, the red color means that the site is consuming more than the average and the green one is consuming less than average. So, in our case, ABB Frosinone consumes more than average, but the other two sites consume less. The Energy and Cost Overview widget shows the total energy consumption for each site and its corresponding total cost for a certain period. Clicking on any site, we can see the cost breakdown for each group in the selected site. The Energy Trend widget shows the trend of energy consumption for each site and the average of the multi-site consumption every 15 minutes. Energy consumption and generation graph shows the energy consumed and generated in a specific period for the selected sites. The generation capacity can be defined in the single site level. The next two widgets are quite similar, consumption per site and generation per site. They are showing the percentage of energy consumption and generation for the selected sites over time. Checking any bar, we can see details about the energy consumed or generated per site and the total energy. The Energy Audit widget is dedicated to the assessment of energy flows and consumption areas. Those enable you to monitor the ISO 50001 consumption areas and see the group's consumption for specific sites. We can separate all the devices into three predefined major use groups: process, general use, and auxiliary energy. And by placing all the devices into the corresponding groups according to their use, you obtain the corresponding energy. A series of widgets dedicated to quick KPIs enables you to easily understand how your various sites behave. Actual versus contractual power shows the percentage of actual versus contractual power for the selected sites. This helps in understanding if contractual power is in line with your needs and in detecting which plants are above your power limit. Generation versus capacity shows the percentage of energy generated versus generation capacity for the selected sites. This helps in understanding if your generator is performing as expected. This can help you to identify ways to increase capacity, such as adding new generators or upgrading existing ones, and you can plan for future energy needs and ensure that you have sufficient capacity to meet demand. Generation versus consumption shows the percentage of energy generated versus that consumed for the selected sites. This helps you easily determine your generation needs and how much your sites are operating with self-sustaining energy consumption. Max versus average power shows the difference between the peak and the average power for selected sites, indicating if your peak is significantly higher than your normal consumption, suggesting you investigate root causes. And finally, with the Power Peak Monthly Analysis widget, you can easily understand how your various sites behave and understand if your plant is correctly managed specifically for power and site generation. It shows the percentage of time that a site has been working close to the power peak and how much it differs from the average. The y-axis indicates how high the peak was with respect to the average power, while the x-axis shows how long the high power condition lasted. We can view data for each month to see the impact of the peak on bills. Remember that this graph is available only for one complete month of data. The widget is divided into 4 areas with color codes. Sites in the red quadrant had a high peak compared to the average for a short time. This can be related to unexpected conditions in the plant that had high impact. Sites in the yellow quadrant at the bottom had a small peak compared to the average power for a short time. This can be related to an unexpected condition in the plant that was not highly impactful. Yellow at the top right considers sites that had high peaks compared to the average power for a good amount of time, which can be related to the normal working condition of the plant to be verified. Sites in the green quadrant had a small peak compared to the average power for a good amount of time, which can be related to the normal working condition of the plant.